do that. Oh,
There we go. Okay. All right. So tell me about your lesson. How do you think this went?
so I think it went all right. So this lesson is just phonics review. It's reviewing the capital letters, phonemes, and phonics vocabulary that they've gone over since about late January or early February.
Mm.
So I didn't cover every letter. I didn't cover every phonics vocab, just because it is 15 minutes. So kind of differentiating for that time limit. But also, I really tried to, I don't know, I felt like I tried to make it the best that I could. We've continuously, for the past 4 weeks, pushed the end of semester date. And we've gotten some feedback from parents saying, why aren't you teaching new material? It's just a lot of revision. Unfortunately, I don't really have much power to say much or make any adjustments. So what I thought I would just do is try to really help students solidify target sentence structure, saying things like, it's letter F. F says pho. F stands for fish, fan, etc. Now, I think this was a really nice endeavor to pursue. However, I think maybe it might have fallen a little short. Maybe I shot a little too high. I think it was perhaps a little hard for the students, especially having been out of the classroom for so long. And I also think, I guess I'll pause there.
Yeah, no, I think that it was a good choice. I can see what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And, by choosing the difficult ones, because those are V and F especially, right? And Q is a difficult one. I thought that was good because, you're challenging them, and those are certainly, letters and sounds that need to be reviewed. Those are the tricky ones. And so I thought in terms of content, it looked great. Not really being able to see, the whole program. I thought it was great. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. And you can't, you're such a natural, you can't teach that. Your interactions with them, when you're saying, let's sing, and then you're singing in your voice, you can't teach those things. And so that's what's lovely about this. You have what it takes to be an effective early childhood teacher. And I love that. So that to me is so much fun to watch, and how they interact with you, especially in an online environment. It's just so tricky. And you use such great strategies. Your hands, show me your hands, show me you're ready, stop. That's so important, even in the physical classroom when you're dealing with kids who don't understand English. Using lots of those hand motions is so important. And I loved that you courageously let them get up, and did your physical stuff. I loved that. That's so developmentally appropriate. And it begins to help them get command of their bodies. I always encourage early childhood teachers to do that. Dance really fast, now dance slow, right? Because that's controlling their little bodies. And so that was lovely. Let me get my notes up here.
Okay, I'm actually gonna point something out here that I've noted down in my notes, is that so part of, actually most, if not all, of the activities that we did throughout the lesson, we do in the physical classroom. So of course, distinguishing certain letters like Q and R are a lot easier than distinguishing maybe F and V. And so F and V is quite a challenging one for a lot of students, you know, fa and va. So I can understand why sometimes maybe they didn't quite get it right, and that's fine. Because in the classroom, you know, sometimes it is really obvious, and this is an activity that we do during lesson time, and the students just really love it. And it's kind of developmentally appropriate where they can, it's not too difficult, and they can kind of gain some learner confidence in understanding, you know, this is right or it's wrong. And then the second part I'm just going to reply to from my notes is that a lot of the hand motions that I do, I actually picked up during the 2020 COVID outbreak here in China. And these are things that I just picked up from teaching online, and I have kept them in the physical classroom in case we ever did transition back online, which I never thought we would in China. Yep. And look where we are, you know, here in April, well, now May, Shanghai 2022. So it does help a little bit more with kind of the transition to online learning and the classroom management. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. You're so smart to do that. And I think any age group, honestly, would benefit from that same thinking, because you'd never know. I mean, even you know, without COVID, if you have an outbreak of flu or something, you know, it goes past a certain number of kids, I'm sure they shut down the class. And I used to see that all the time, you know. So I think you're very smart to do that. And you use things they're familiar with, you know, your songs. We've talked about that, keeping those familiar kinds of things that they're used to doing. So using songs and hand signals, definitely so important, and certainly developmentally appropriate. I mean, and if you think about it, when they come into this classroom, they know that they're going to see familiar things, right? And that builds their confidence, and they feel like, yeah, I know what's going on. And your little teacher assistant is great at supporting you. You know, that balance is so tricky to have. Sometimes they tend to speak too much, and you don't want them to speak too much. So keeping that good balance, I think, is great to support them. Let me see if I had anything else. I loved your little slide about, you know, rules, and I can see that's more for parents, but yes. But good. Yeah. Yeah, I loved the review of the letters, and then your little sorting activity. That was so much fun. They loved that. You could tell. Let's see. Yeah, you know, and the only thing I would say, and this is just from teaching them early childhood, is that, you know, when you're teaching these sounds, and this is something you can't do online, is working with them with their physical, you know, because when you're teaching F, it's not fa, it's but you can't do that online very well, right? Unless you have them get real close to the camera. Now go, you know, it's just so hard to reinforce that.
Yeah,
but,
you know,
but you'll
go ahead.
No, but you know, when you're in person with them, you'll be able to, you know, the feel of blowing that air and feeling a sound, you know, if they're what do you call that? I can't even remember now. A voiced and non-voiced sound, like you don't feel it here, but you feel it here. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes if you have a student who's struggling with, you know, the difference, you can have them touch your under here. Is it voiced?
Yeah, I hear what you mean. You know, in actually throughout the video, I think it was this group. Winnie is in the group, and she was saying S says fa, at one point. I think this was the group, and so I kept trying to correct it. But again, it is kind of the audio and how we hear things, but also the speech recognition. Watching someone's mouth. I think over the internet there's a bit of a lag, and so it can be a little bit more difficult. One thing that I picked up from my previous school that I had never seen before, and I never would have come up with it on my own, but just saying the phoneme again, just in different patterns. We did a little bit briefly, but in class we'll spend like 2 minutes on it, where it's just different kind of patterns, like fa, fa fa, fa fa fa.
Mhm.
It's almost like we're having like a conversation, this sort of thing, and make different tunes, fa fa fa, this sort of thing. So this really, in my experience, helps students nail down the phonemes and the sounds. And it really gets them excited.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, that repetition and doing it singing, doing it whispering,
Mm.
all of those different ways of making the sound. I love that. I love that. Yeah. Um, I just thought it was great. And honestly, it's tricky with these online classes when you're evaluating them because many times you can't demonstrate all of the elements of the rubric, obviously. But I got to tell you, you did. And let me pull mine up here.